So you're the Godfather of the AAU.
I wanted to do something different and help kids not make the same mistakes.
What was your experience with Pat when you had Michael Beasley and got drafted by him?
Yeah.
It's the grandparents, it's the parents, it's all of them out there, and they all think their kid's going to be messy because they play soccer, and I'm like...
Are you going to choose somewhere where he can get developed to be a pro, or are you going to take the fast money?
So how was Nolan Smith's experience at Duke with Coach K? Welcome to BTN Sports. My name is Andy Hernandez. Today I have the pleasure of bringing on Curtis Malone. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Appreciate you having me.
So you're the Godfather of the AAU, and I've been wanting to talk to you for a while because I've been a basketball fan since I was a kid. But the game's changed a lot. I have to admit that I've been shying away. I was a big NBA guy, and I've gotten away from the NBA, watching it as much as I used to watch it. And I think the game has changed so much. But what are your thoughts on today's game, NBA and college versus in your era? And we'll get into your story and all that, but I want to start first with your perspective on basketball today.
Well, it's totally different. The game has changed so much. The NBA game is now shoot threes and it's just guys don't know how to play the game. Big-time athletes now. I mean, big-time athletes. But the game has just changed so much where it's just a jump shooting contest. And, college has changed. Everything's a business now. Kids are going to the highest bidder. And that's just where we are in today's society.
Yeah. So back to the NBA, where do you think that change came where now it's just jacking up threes? The mid range game is completely gone. Kids are not going to the rack anymore. Where do you think that changed?
I believe when guys, all the kids does is train now. It's like they got 4 different trainers they go to, and those are the things they teach the kids.
Right.
You're not learning how to play the game with a trainer. You guys use cones and it's just amazing. We call them cone babies now. Everybody play like robots.
Right.
But again, it's where it is right now.
Got it. And why would organizations allow this in part of their development? Because I'm guessing this is translated from the G League into the NBA, or college, G League, and NBA. College, not so much. There's still structure within the game in college, I think. But when you're talking about G League and going into the NBA and their developmental, programs, why are they not teaching the game of basketball anymore?
G League, you're going to get the guys that do all the little things to get there.
Right.
Guys still playing hard. The guys can defend. They're going to defend because everybody's trying to make it to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once the guys get to the NBA, you also only have a role.
Right.
So I just think that the game is just about shooting threes. I mean, you look at ESPN every day, all you see is 3-point shots and dunks. That's all they show. They don't show much of anything else.
Right.
But I call it Steph Curry changed the game. He turned into a three-point shootout.
Yeah. With Steph, man, I didn't see it when he first came out. I didn't think that can last, right? Him just jacking up shots with, 18 seconds left on the shot clock or 16 seconds left on the shot clock and not going through your offense and you're just jacking shots. But God, was I wrong. I remember having a conversation with Tim Hardaway. I was at in Ohio in Canton for Jason Taylor's induction into the Hall of Fame, and we ran into him in the gym, and I was talking to him about Steph Curry, and I'm like, let me ask you, Tim, is this shit going to work? He's like, fuck no. He just went off because he's old school. He didn't think it would work. And man, have we been proven wrong?
Oh yeah. I seen Steph in AAU played against our team, and I could not believe what I was seeing then.
Right.
I'm like, nobody's recruiting this kid, and he was unbelievable.
Right. Why weren't they recruiting his size?
Again, I don't know if, a kid that can just, because they thought he can only shoot the ball.
Right.
But he could do so many other things.
His handles are insane.
Yes, it was crazy. So again, and I think when I ran the AAU program, I think we probably was one of the best defending AAU programs in the country during that time, and he sort of had his way with us. So I was highly impressed with him back then.
Right. So I wanted to ask you this question: what did you think about Luka Dončić being traded? And nobody knew about it, supposedly.
Yeah, it was a surprise, I think, to everybody. It surprised me. I didn't believe that the Lakers would get rid of Anthony Davis. I thought they would add some pieces to the puzzle. But again, Luke and LeBron, I don't think can do it themselves either.
They're too ball dominant.
Well, you got to have some other pieces, and I don't think the pieces.
Bronny ain't in it.
Huh?
Bronny ain't it?
No, not yet. He got a ways to go. Bronny got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But they really have to add some pieces to the puzzle.
So talking about Bronny, do you think LeBron is setting him up to fail?
No, well, how do we fail? I mean, you do this to do what? Make money?
Right.
He don't need no money.
Right.
So, I mean, he's already, what he have done over the last year, just getting drafted is a hell of a accomplishment.
Right.
And I think the kid will be fine.
You think he'll be fine?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
You see some things there?
He'll find a home and be able to play
Right.
somewhere in the NBA.
Right.
He was a pretty good player before.
Do you think if he feels the pressure, though, that he's LeBron's kid and that he has to live up to a certain standard?
I don't think it's pressure. I just think it's what he want to do.
Sure.
I think he want to make a name for himself, but also what better way to do it than your dad is LeBron James.
Right.
So I don't think it's a lot of pressure because if it don't work out, he'll
be
accomplished
just fine.
his dream and he's fine in life.
Yeah, as a father, I probably would have done the same thing. Who knows? I don't know if I'm in that position, what I would have done. A lot of people have a lot of commentary on it, and they're looking from the outside and they don't know, right? And you don't know what you would do in that particular situation, I think Bronny could have used another couple of years in college. That's just my personal opinion, and then he could have transferred over. But look, when you're in position to be able to have that kind of pool, and you use it, right?
Yeah, I thought he could have used more.
Right? Yeah,
For sure.
So I wish him luck, and I want to see him do well because he's got to be feeling a lot of pressure being, LeBron's kid.
Yes.
I feel for him a little bit. Last thing on the NBA, and then we'll get into your story. But what do you think about Jimmy Butler and how he's acting through this situation? Because it's all over Instagram, X. What do you think about how he's handled this situation with the Heat? And you have some familiarity with the Heat because of Michael Beasley.
Yeah. I just I don't believe at this point in Jimmy's career that Jimmy needs to act out the way he has. And again, I tell people he's barking up the wrong tree because Pat Riley is time enough for him.
Right.
There's anybody that don't give a damn who you are,
right,
is Pat Riley.
Right.
You're not, no matter who you are, you're not gonna, run over him.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think it's a fair assessment by the media that what they're saying about Riley, where players are saying, or I haven't seen too many players, but they're saying that players don't want to go play for Riley because of Heat culture and the demands that the organization puts on you, which I thought was a plus, that you wanted to go to a situation where they're going to push you and make you the best possible player. They're spinning that narrative now, saying that no one wants to go there. And he's missed out on a couple guys, Bradley Beals. You can go down the list of guys he's missed in free agency. Do you think there's some truth to that?
Well, I mean, Pat Riley is Pat Riley. He don't, and he's not going to bend and change who he is for anyone. So either, and the Heat organization is a great organization to be a part of, but I don't see Pat no time soon bending for any of these guys who are all-stars, superstars. Pat is Pat.
Right. What was your experience with Pat when you had Michael Beasley? He got drafted by him.
Oh, he was Pat Riley. You
Yeah.
know, I was excited to be able to meet Pat, talk to him, even phone conversations. But he always treated me really, really well. I think his biggest concern and how we built the relationship was that Pat wanted to try to save Michael Beasley
Right.
from, the road where he thought that he was heading, and he wanted to figure out how can we save this kid. So for me, I love a tough guy.
Right.
So I thought he was an unbelievable
Yeah, you come
person.
from that old school
Yeah, he's
mentality.
old school. He's old school.
Yeah, so coaching Michael Beasley, what age did you find Michael Beasley at?
I believe at 13.
Okay.
13.
What type of player was he when you found him?
He was just okay. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't that good. I used to always say he couldn't walk and chew at the same time doing then.
Right.
But it was a lot of work that we put in. It was a lot of time that we had to put in to help him become the player that he was at a young age. During his high school years in AAU. So but he was just a little raw. He was raw,
Right.
big feet, big hands, but he had great hands. Had touch, but again, a lot of the guys were ahead of him
Got it.
doing that.
So you saw the upside in him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you 6'7",
Yeah, right there. That's a good start,
you
right?
6'7" with big old hands and your feet, during that time, we thought his feet were bigger than what they really were.
Right.
We thought during the high school year, we thought he wear a size 22 shoe. And finally, I took him to get his feet measured because he kept saying, "Man, these shoes too big for me," and we couldn't find any shoes. So we ended up having like Shaq send some. It was an article when he was in the 8th grade. They were saying that ABCD camp, 8th grade sitting on 22s. They was talking about his feet size, and so Adidas had the stretch shoes for him. They didn't make a 22 during that time. But finally, we went to the store, and I told the guy to measure his feet. Come to find out, he wear 18. So it was just a funny story because every time he would complain to his mom that his feet hurt,
Right.
she would just get him a bigger size.
Oh, man.
But the whole time,
Didn't think about touching
didn't
the
get
old
measured,
school.
didn't
Yeah.
get measured. So, I'm saying he used to be like, "Man, I told y'all I don't wear that
Right,
size. I
right.
told you so."
So did you help him with the process of choosing Kansas State?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We in DC Assault, my godson, he was at Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, Delonte Hill.
Yep.
And Mike committed to UNC Charlotte.
Got it.
And then Huggins called to bring Delonte to Kansas State, Bob Huggins, when he got the job. So he took Delonte with him, and then from there, Mike.
So Bob, was Frank Martin there yet? No.
Frank was an assistant with
As an
Huggins
assistant,
at
okay.
Cincinnati.
Okay, got it.
After, yeah. So Frank went with Huggins to Kansas State.
Right.
And then Huggins did 1 year,
And then Martin became the head coach,
and
right?
Martin became the head coach, and Delonte became the associate head coach, Michael Beasley's first year.
Got it. Frank's loved down here, man. He has a Cuban background. He played at Miami High. What was your experience with Frank Martin?
Really great person. All the guys love me because I helped their career.
Right.
But Frank has shown me so much love and support, especially through the things I've been through.
Right.
He never turned his back on me, and it proved that, those kids went to play for a good and genuine guy because I mean, he's a tough guy.
Right.
He's old school, you
Yep.
know. He's gonna curse, and you might not remember your name after he finished with you.
Yeah.
But he's a great person, great human being, and I take my hat off to him.
Yeah, what always sticks in my mind is after the press conference, I think he was at South Carolina, he talked about parents and, parents going after coaches, and that parents don't realize the amount of time that these coaches put into their kids to show a little respect. And after I had a lot of respect for him coming out doing that publicly and telling these parents, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, that's most parents anyway.
Yeah. So let's get into your story. You got into some trouble. You started coaching basketball, and then you started DC Assault in 1996?
93.
In 93, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, if you can talk a little bit about your story and how you're here today, and
Okay, well, in 1993, I was a guy that played ball. I tried to play a little bit. Didn't take it serious.
No.
Instead of going straight, I turned left. 1991, I got in a little bit of trouble back in Washington, D.C. area. And from there, I wanted to do something different and help kids, not make the same mistakes. So after I chose to get into the basketball world, I started coaching at a rec center in Maryland, PG County, Maryland. And a good friend of mine, Troy Weaver, I had started doing a small AAU team with a team called PG Jaguars. That's who Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley was with.
Okay, got it.
And from there, me and Troy decided to start our own AAU program. So it was a trial period where we were coming out of pocket. We didn't have sponsorship. Finally, we had a few players that could play, and John Thompson made a call and got us our first Nike deal. Wow. George Ravlin met us. We had lunch and dinner. He gave us a little deal. From there, I met Sonny Vaccaro.
That's the movie with, what was that movie called?
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck, yeah, Matt Damon, right?
And Matt Damon,
yeah.
So Sonny convinced us to come over to Adidas, so we left Nike. So I was with Adidas. DC Assault was with Adidas, I believe, 16
years,
something like that. And then in 2010, we did a new contract with Under Armour. So, and then in 2013, I got in trouble. I caught another federal drug charge. My first federal drug charge. So, was sentenced to 100 months in federal prison. And from there, I'm back.
Right. How was that experience going to jail, unfortunately, and being pulled away from what you love doing every single day? How did you feel in that moment?
Well,
when it all came down?
It was really tough because what bothered me the most is my disappointment, because the disappointment I caused because I touched so many kids and family lives, but also my own family, the disappointment, the hurt, that I caused them was the toughest thing with dealing with that case I had, So, but again, I got through, and what I did have was a lot of support. Not many turned their back on me, from kids I coached, from parents that was a part of the program. Most didn't turn their back on me.
Yeah, when I did my research for this podcast, I saw a lot of players and parents come out in your defense saying that you helped them a lot through the struggles that, they couldn't afford putting food on the table, couldn't afford equipment, whatever it was, you were there to help them and take care of them. Yeah.
Well, when we started the program, and I still have a relationship with most of those kids in their 40s now. So the relationships was very, very strong. They still, like, I'm a big brother, I'm an uncle, I'm still a father figure to them. So.
Yeah, what was the biggest thing that you learned through that process?
The biggest thing is to, to not put, you can't put so much on your plate. It was tough. Just trying to do for everything and everybody. You got to be able to say no. You got to be able to say I don't have it. You just can't take care of everybody, So sitting down in that themselves, it made you really think that, you probably should have said no to a lot of things. And some of the ones that should have said no to were some of the ones that turned their back too.
Right.
Some of the ones who got the most benefits was quick to turn their back.
Funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
You see it all the time.
Yeah.
So what's next for you now that you're out?
Well, I just came out of retirement.
You're back at it again?
Some of my former DC Assault players, they have an AAU program called the Washington Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
They are a Adidas-sponsored team. So when I first came back, they were like, oh, come on and be a part of it. I'm like, man, I don't want nothing to do with this AAU stuff. And I get calls.
And why not? Why didn't you want anything to do with AAU?
I had did it for 20 years.
Right.
20 years. And just the way the game is now and the
I was going to ask you that question. What's the difference between AAU when you first started, the evolution of it, and now that you came back because you got away from it for a little bit, now you come back, what's the difference from back then?
I think that 20 years of doing it, you had parents that trust the process and trust you leading the way.
Mm-hmm.
We had parents, if Curtis spoke to them or they had a question or they wanted to talk about something or needed help with a decision or anything, they trust the process. Right now, what I seen when I started going to games, because I was going to see kids play all the time, like best friends, they children, I would go to games. And just every parent is like, it's like, I see some of them and I don't even remember them ever even touching a basketball. And nevertheless, everybody's son is Kobe Bryant.
Right.
Or LeBron. And it's really sad because,
It's funny you mentioned that because I was having a conversation with one of my friends and, I grew up playing sports. I remember like one or two fathers being out there, and maybe a mom here, but they didn't know anything. They entrusted the coach.
Yeah.
Like I got entrusted with my baseball coach. He's like my dad to this day now. And my mom didn't ask any questions. My dad wasn't really around. Mm-hmm. But now I go to some of these practices because my brother has boys. I go to the soccer practice. There's an army.
Yeah.
It's the grandparents, it's the parents, it's all of them out there, and they all think their kid's gonna be messy because they play soccer, and I'm like,
parents fighting in the bleachers.
Yeah, fighting. Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, my brother almost got in a fight.
Yeah, it's really sickening.
It is.
Actually. And when I told those guys, I said, let me just think about it, please. But I get so many people that reach out and say, when are you getting back in, man?
Right.
And, I still have kids that played for me who got children now, sons, and, and most of the AAU teams in our area, most of those guys came up under me. We have some really good teams. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, the competitiveness in me,
right.
I would like to
So that's
help
what's bringing
again.
you back is
I would like to help again because I get calls all the time.
Right.
And everybody's like, man, you need to get back in this. Like,
Right.
it wasn't the same.
Right.
But a lot of the guys are doing a good job. They have good programs,
Got it.
but it was the competitiveness of me, man. And I'm just like,
So are you running it with someone else or?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm the GM of the Washington Warriors.
Okay, so
I'm
you're the
helping
GM,
the guys with the decisions.
Okay.
And I wouldn't get back in if I can't help make decisions. I'm not a on the bench guy.
Right.
I gotta be able to help make some decisions.
You got to be able to paint the masterpiece.
Yeah,
I get it.
And it's
get it.
different though because the guys be like,
Yeah.
Kurt, you still old school.
Right. And does the AAU circuit still work with, like, you got to throw money at players? How does that work nowadays?
I done seen law.
Yeah.
I done seen some parents asking for $20,000, $40,000, and the kid is in 9th, 10th grade. And I'm like, wow. My thing is, how do you get this 40 or 50 back?
Yeah. Well, I'm going
What's
to blow
the
your
return
mind.
on that?
There's a kid that's playing quarterback 8 under, and they're paying him $10,000.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Not even making that up. I
mean,
wish I was.
I believe it. I mean, I believe it. I remember before I went away, guys were betting 40 and 50,000 on Pop Warner games.
Shit.
And I'm like, wow, who does that?
It's sickening.
You know, but it's where we are.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this circus or zoo that you call the NIL? Because this didn't exist back when you were running AAU. There was deals going on.
Well, if it was NIL, I wouldn't have went to jail. You know, I had a roster probably of 10 guys, all Division I players every year.
Right.
You know, so and a lot of times those parents also believed in me. But regardless of the money, I just think that unfortunately, kids are just going to the highest bidder.
Right.
And I have a kid who dad is, we talk a lot. And I said, you know, what is your kid ultimate goal? And his son will have a chance to probably make some money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I said, you know, okay, you tell me such and such offering. They at $350, $400 now. And I'm saying, okay, you get $350, $300, 4 years, 5 years. You know, if your son, are you going to choose somewhere where he can get developed to be a pro? Or are you going to take the fast money?
Right. Yeah, and I've made that argument here on the show because NIL is a big topic for us, especially with Nevin. But I've told parents, I'm like, if you make a micro decision, you're mortgaging the future. If you get them in the wrong situation, not get that kid developed, and you're leaving hundreds, maybe millions of dollars on the table by taking the bag now and putting him in a bad situation. Yeah. And the other part is going year to year, switching programs, which you're seeing. How are you going to get developed, number one, and what are you teaching the kid?
I say all the time, pick your toys up and run.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that somehow they have to put some type of rule in where the kid just can't run from place to place.
Right. And why hasn't the NCAA stepped in?
I just don't think the NCAA can control where it's at right now.
Right.
You know, so it's still the same way big bank take little bank.
Right.
You know, you got kids and all this stuff kills. It hurts this portal thing. It hurts the high school kids.
Right.
Who have went to school, got good grades, do a really good job, have worked hard, and they get cheated. Yeah. Because no school want a high school player when they can go get a kid 22 that's a junior or a senior.
Well, now with the new JUCO ruling, now you can go to JUCO, not usually lose a year of eligibility.
Yeah. The one good thing is a lot of kids will be able to get a couple of different degrees because 6-7 years of college. You should be able to get you
could be a freshman at 27 years old.
Yeah, you might not be an NBA player, but at least you can get you 2 or 3 degrees. Sure, you know what I mean? Sure. So I think that's a good, a good new rule that just came out. I think that's great. Yeah.
So I didn't know Cindy, your daughter, was telling me that, and I didn't know that. I know that these kids are being represented, but I don't know what the details are. She was telling me that some of these handlers are taking 20% of that kid's NIL deal, which is insane.
Yeah,
it's wild. What are your thoughts on that?
I think 20% that's a lot of money.
Steep.
And again, it depends. I think that anyone who worked for a kid, if you allow a company to do or help with your NIL deal, and they bring more value to you and your money, I think that they should be rewarded.
Sure, of course.
A percentage of something.
Right.
But it has to be fair.
Right.
I think that, 20% is a little tough.
Yeah, that's...
if your son, he's offered $500 and I got 2 schools, I can go get $754. I think I should be given a small percentage.
Of course, yeah. I'm not saying to work for free. Yeah. But when that kid loses 30-something% in taxes and 20%, half the money's gone.
Yeah, a lot of parents don't. A lot of parents don't.
And the other problem is, what kind of financial advice are they getting on that money? Well, because I'm seeing these kids pull up in Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, and I know now programs. I heard this. I didn't even know this. They're leasing cars. To give to players. Yeah. Did not know that.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah. And 15, 20 years ago, when we helped a kid with tuition, it was a violation.
It was a violation.
You know, if a kid I knew had to go to summer school and I paid for it, it's a violation. The kid gets suspended 2 or 3 games. Yeah. And it's really a sad situation, but it's what the game is right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Where do you think this all ends?
Somewhere down the line, it has to.
Right.
They have to do something.
So I got off the phone. So with a prominent attorney, he's handling a real big lawsuit. I'm not going to mention against the NCAA right now. He was telling me there's programs, and I forgot which program he told me, but he's telling me programs are upside down because not every school is the University of Texas, LSU, the University of Miami, where they have big backing, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these smaller schools are trying to compete in this era of college athletics, and they're bringing money. They're taking money from their athletic program to pay these players. They're upside down $500,000, $1 million.
Yeah.
So if you continue that over years, what is that going to compound into? They're going to lose their programs.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to fund or field the team.
Yeah. I think when you pick and choose who get the most money, I think it just should have been sort of, levels. Mm-hmm. But all the kids are taken care of. But you can do it with your, if you can afford to do it.
Right.
But I mean, it's a good thing the kids are making money. In some cases, some kids don't deserve all the money they getting. Mm-hmm. I went to dinner one day with a kid, and he got a lot of money. Kid literally at the table told his mother, "Mom, be quiet." And I'm saying to myself, that's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem.
When you don't even respect your mom or your dad now because you the money guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine like a Carson Beck or one of these guys, $10 million, are you even really focusing on academics?
Well, again, I believe that all of that come from your base.
Right.
So,
that's the argument I've made too. It comes from your parents.
Some kids gonna know what to do with it. Some kids have good families that can help them with it. Some people have good advisors that's gonna help them with the process and with everything. But a lot of kids that don't, I mean, you just going, they tell me guys be at the MGM in DC, guys who got NIL money gambling. Like the worst thing you could do. So again, you're gonna have some good and bad.
Sure.
Sure.
Man. Yeah, I feel bad for these kids because they're being set up, unfortunately, for failure. Getting money like that at 18 years old, I couldn't imagine having that type of money. I was reckless back then, being broke.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having a couple $1 million. I probably would have died. Yeah. That type of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And access, and these guys are very glorified and all that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what's going on in that whole world. What do you think about college basketball today, outside of the NIL, and these programs that like the Dukes that are getting the one and dones? Do you think that that's good for the game?
Well, I don't think one and dones are good. I always believe that kids should be able to go straight to the NBA, and that would eliminate a lot of one and dones, because most likely the ones that can't go straight probably need school, and probably need school 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So I think without going straight to the NBA, I think that hurt college basketball. But now, again, you can just say, I'm not playing no more. I'm transferring. I'm in the portal March 1st, and the season not even over. It's a circus.
It is a circus.
It's a circus, and the coaches who are really good, they get. I mean, look at Larinaga. Larinaga say we go to the Elite Eight or Final Four, and as soon as we lose, I got 8 guys transferring. Yeah. We went to the Final Four. We got a chance. Everybody come back. We win the national championship.
Right. I mean, you're seeing with Saban leaving the sport. It's different. You got to re-recruit your players. It's just wild. just a wild time that we're in, and I feel bad for Coach L, man. He's a good guy.
But the Dukes of the world, they're gonna get 5 more one and done.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
And the thing about some one and dones like Cooper Flagg, kid like him,
I was gonna ask you about him.
you could win
Right.
with him. He's good enough as a
Right.
freshman.
Right.
You know, he's good enough to help you
Yeah.
and take you over the top to win a national championship.
Speaking of Cooper Flagg, what are your thoughts on him, and how do you see him translating to the pros?
I think he's a big time player. He's really good.
Right.
You know, and what's even more impressive is he's not going to get drafted at 20, 21 like most of these kids. The kid is literally 17 years old, going to get drafted at 18. So he is, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Right.
You know, I think he.
You think he's NBA ready?
Yes. Hands down, I think he's ready.
Right.
You know, the NBA is young.
Well, you see him in I guess he was a Team USA camp, and he was playing with them.
Well, the kid can really play.
Right.
He's really, really good.
Right. Who would you compare him to?
That's a good one there. It was a guy back in the day. Are we saying white or black?
No man.
Because, of course, you know, when you look at a white player, you
Right.
compare him to a white player.
Right, of course.
You know, but I'm a little older than you guys. There
Right.
was a guy named Tom Chambers
Okay.
that was really, really, really good.
Okay.
You know.
What
but
year was that?
This 80s.
80s,
early,
okay, yeah.
you know, early 80s, all-star every year. But he was really good, athletic,
Right.
can do everything. But Cooper Flagg is a special player.
So you think he'll be a generational type player?
I think he'll be, you know, I think he'll do what, what's the kid from Duke a few years ago in Orlando?
Oh, Banchero?
Yeah, I think he'll be that
Type of an impact
NBA
player.
all-star type guy.
And he came on the radar. I mean, a lot of people didn't know about him, right? He's from Maine, I think.
Yeah, well, he ended up, I think now, he moved up a grade to go to college. So,
Lazo, can you Google that? Yeah. Google Cooper Flagg moving up a grade. Usually kids are getting held back.
yeah.
You know, they'll go to prep school or whatever.
Yeah,
This kid went the other way.
Yeah, so he can go to college.
Yeah, that's like the kid Ryan Williams, receiver at Alabama, did the same exact thing.
Yeah,
and winning and killing everybody.
He's good.
Yeah, very,
He's good.
very good.
He's good.
What? So Nolan Smith is basically your kid, and
But yeah,
go
my
ahead.
bad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he did reclassify so he can for Duke. He's currently projected as potential top pick in the 2025 draft. But
17
he
years
did
old.
reclassify so he can kind of.
I didn't know he was 17 years old.
Yeah, he's young. He's rather
not-
young. I know some guys now in the 10th grade that's, I think, 17 now.
yeah.
Like kids up our way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids who are old playing
Right,
high school basketball. They really they JUCO players.
right. Yeah, no, it's man, that one's is a crazy one for me. Did not know that. But so Nolan Smith is your son. He's the assistant coach now at Memphis, but was a great player for Duke. And how was that experience watching him play at Duke?
It was really, really, really good. The craziest part of that story with, you know, Nolan and I living under the same roof, Duke wasn't my first choice. You know what I mean?
Where do you want him to go?
Well, it didn't really matter. I just, you know,
It wasn't
I
your
wasn't
first choice.
Duke, and guys were like, "Why the hell is he going to Duke? Why, man? Why you let?" I said, "Have Coach K ever came and sat in your living room?" It's a little different, now,
Right,
you
right.
know what I mean? So
How was that experience when he came and sat down here?
I mean, it was good,
Right.
but the good part was that Nolan was good enough to make his own decision. You know, like he smart enough. Like the other schools that were recruiting him, you know, he made it clear that from you know, former players and who was in those programs, he didn't see many of those schools taking care of their former guys.
Right.
So he, you know, when you look at Duke, Duke take care of Duke.
Right.
Coach K take care of his guys, you
Right.
know. So you got guys all over. And it was a very, very good choice that he did make. So I did become a Duke fan. I didn't wear all T-shirts all the time, but
Right.
I was a Duke fan.
Did you ever go to any of the practices?
Yeah.
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 How was Coach K in those practices?
Coach K is really good.
Yeah.
He's good. He's detailed.
Yeah.
But, he brings something out of his guys.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to see Coach Popovich. Actually, Coach K was the head coach of Team USA, and Popovich was running it's the second-year players that go to camp as well. I forgot what it's called, sophomores or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to sit in his practice, and man, I didn't realize how detailed he was about every single action.
Yeah.
Just he will stop the play and get on somebody's ass if they effed it up.
Yeah.
Just incredible to see the
Yeah.
detail. So I'm always fascinated to hear, these legendary
guys not
coaches.
great for nothing.
Right,
They-
right. Right.
These guys are great because of, as coaches, and they're
Right.
really good and detailed and,
Right.
and special, and
Right.
they can bring something out of their players.
Got it.
So everybody can't bring out, they bring, the monster out of their players.
Got it. So how was Nolan Smith's experience at Duke with Coach K?
It was a roller coaster in the beginning. He had a rough start, but he managed to fight through it. But for the most part, it was a roller coaster.
Why was it a roller coaster?
Well, here's a kid that's a McDonald's All-American, probably played on one of the best AAU program, and all his peers every year. You're talking about from the Dirk Roses to O.J. Mayo to, all these guys are McDonald's, and Nolan he chooses Duke, which was a great choice But when he got there, you're talking about a kid who probably didn't play as much as he wanted to. He see all his other friends, Michael Beasley, live in the house with him.
Right.
Michael was getting 28 and 15 and 35 and 10, and then Nolan, Dirk Rose doing his thing at Memphis, So, he looking at all the guys and what they doing, and it was frustrating for him.
Right.
It was very, and he went through a tough time there.
Yeah, it must have helped him because he became Player of the Year
Well,
his senior year.
Well, freshman year, he didn't play the minutes he wanted. Second year, they started him some games, When they lose, he'll go through something. They take him out the lineup. So he was frustrated. He wanted to transfer. And I never forget, when everybody heard he wanted to transfer, I probably was getting 50 calls a day with schools that's interested, and Bill Self, I even went out there to visit Bill Self because he like, look,
Over at Kansas?
if he leave, I want him, So got back and I sat with Nolan because the whole thing with him, with the bumpy road at Duke, it even caused fucking problems at home.
Right.
Damn,
the wife.
the mama's baby is babying her baby, and he's going through it. So she's going through it, and my fucking marriage going through it because of he not being the player that everybody expect for him to be. But we got through it, and me and him had a real talk and heart to heart. And I just told him, I don't believe in, again, picking your toys up and running. We're going to fight through this. So I went to Johnny Dawkins, who is a longtime friend. I've been knowing Johnny Dawkins since I was a young kid. And Nolan and Sydney and them, Johnny is a very close family member to them. So, and that was one of the reasons he went to Duke, was Johnny Dawkins, who's from D.C.
Got it.
And, I asked Johnny, is he doing everything that he's supposed to do? And I said, is he watching film? Is he there? He said, no, he's not doing everything he could. He could do more, and he's not. So I just told Nolan, you're not going nowhere. You going to fight through this. Let's fight through it. And look what happened.
That's probably the
Win
best
the
decision
national championship, ACC Player of the Year, drafted 21 in the draft. I mean, it couldn't have been a better story.
Right.
You know, when he could have easily went somewhere else and none of this happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to take my hat off, and that's one of the stories about him that it really showed me that he's a fighter, you know, because it's tough for a kid who's had so much success.
Right.
To go through a situation like that.
So in wrapping up, I know that you are in the middle of the process of writing a book, or you already wrote your book. Can you talk a little bit about your book and when that's coming out, and your experience, writing your book? Okay.
Well, hopefully the book will be released in the fall of 2025. They're in the process of getting everything done. I think the publishing company think that during that time is the best time to release the book. The book is just about my story, man. You know, the growing up, you know, in the area I come up in, you know, what I seen and what I end up doing, and, you know, what got me to where I was, and then, you know, what brought me out of that. You know, I made it out of the neighborhood, you know, and I started doing other things with the agent stuff, with signing players, and then running one of the top programs in the country, and then me making a left turn again, something I did in 1991.
Right.
So, you know, it's just a story on my life, the ups and downs of Curtis Malone.
Can't wait to read it, man.
Yeah.
So do you have, are you working on a documentary, movie? Because your story needs to be told, man.
Well, we're waiting. We hope the ball get rolling soon.
Sure.
You know, we heard some production may get started soon, but again, you know, people get your stuff and put you up on the shelf.
Right.
You know, so we just waiting to see and what come out of this. But we have signed with a media group to do the documentary.
Awesome.
So we trying to wait and see what they come back with in terms of when are we going to start filming and different things. They have a lot of footage and stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time and getting to speak to you and getting to hang out with you a little bit and getting to know who you are, man. And you're, even though through the struggles and everything, man, you're very inspiring. You've inspired a lot of people around you, man. So thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man,
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Yeah.
Man. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Problem.
They got blockers.